curious to hear how some of the progressive activists are going to feel about Kamala Harris flip-flopping on a key position that I think speaks volumes about what her administration would be about. If you have not heard this yet, ladies and gentlemen, it has been reported that Kamala Harris's presidency will no longer try to seek a fracking ban. I will say this again. Kamala Harris' campaign has stated that if she is elected to office, she will no longer support a ban on fracking. I kid you not. This is a reversal. Let's get into this clip here.
But tonight, there's also a reversal from the vice president. In 2019, then a candidate in the Democratic presidential primary, the California senator vouched for a ban on fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah. And this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue.
So that was 2019, where she made it very clear that she supported banning fracking.
All right, now fracking allows for the underground development of natural gas and oil. It is a big deal in many parts of Pennsylvania. And as thehill.com now notes, and News Nation has confirmed, the Harris campaign is now saying Vice President Harris no longer, as you heard there in 2019, supports a ban, a full reversal.
Pause. Now, everybody see what's happening here, right? So all the people that are online and are saying that Mehdi Hassan too, all these people saying Kamala Harris is progressive. I told you she was not progressive. The litmus test is Medicare for all, which she flipped on that too. We'll show you that in a second, right? That's the litmus test. She doesn't even support that. Now she is reversing her support for banning fracking. Now, one of the key so-called accomplishments that the Biden administration has been touting across the board is the massive climate legislation that Biden signed, that the Biden-Harris administration signed. They're pushing this a lot. Now, I told you, even with that legislation, we can't applaud them for that because in that piece of legislation, they were given breaks to corporations as well. That's why Joe Manchin agreed to vote for it. That's why he approved it, because corporate interest was still receiving something. I told you again, it is rare that they pass legislation that doesn't have some type of corporate interest attached to it. That's important for people to pay attention to. Then on top of that, Joe Biden approved the Willow Project, more drilling, right? Which he said he would not approve any new drilling permits when he was running for president for 2020. Now you have Kamala Harris, who has taken Joe Biden's position, taken his spot for the 2024 race. Now she is reversing her support to ban fracking. Now, here's my question to all the climate activists out there, particularly the younger ones who have jumped on board this Kamala train. Are you going to hold Kamala Harris accountable for reversing her support to ban fracking? I said the same thing about Gaza. Yeah, she may not be as harsh as Biden was on Gaza, but she's saying the same thing, that Israel has a right to defend itself and we will continue to be unwavering in the support for Israel. She's saying the same thing. I told you then, are you going to hold Kamala Harris accountable for Gaza just like you did Joe Biden? Don't be fooled. And now we have climate. So let's say you were willing to give her a pass on that and say, oh, well, it was mainly under Biden, even though I would say she agrees with this as well. She's going to send weapons and money to Israel. She already gave her speech. She's letting you know right now. But let's say you gave her a pass on that. Are you going to give her a pass on this too? As they are going around the country telling people that they did this massive climate reform? Are you going to give her a pass on the fracking? Now, why would she switch her position on this? Corporate interest and corporate greed, but also if she's trying to win some of these swing states, some of the states that she needs to win that heavily rely on fracking for jobs, it seems like she's trying to correct a position that Hillary Clinton did in 2016, where Hillary Clinton just basically told people that worked in the coal mines, well, you just have to get other jobs. No, Hillary's response wasn't great, and then she ignored the Rust Belt after that. But Kamala Harris flipping on fracking is also not going to be great for her either, particularly with the more progressive younger voters that seem to be excited about her and got coconuts and everything all in the pictures. So what is the best way to handle this if you're trying to win those voters in those swing states? Instead of saying, no, I'm not going to ban fracking because I know you need your jobs, you offer an alternative. You offer alternative jobs. We need to move away from this at some point in time. And the only way that those people, you have to ensure that they are going to be employed, that they are going to have jobs. You have to give them alternative jobs in clean energy and move forward with that. Seems like very clear to me, though, that Kamala does not have a plan. And I think this is what more people need to be concerned about, because she's basically just going along with what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden's not banning fracking, and she's now saying she's not going to ban fracking. Kamala doesn't have a plan. That's why her website still doesn't have a policy platform. Let's continue.
Begin tonight with Connor Lamb. He is the former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania. Congressman, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. First time, I believe, on the show. We appreciate it. All right, so Kamala, are you there, Congressman? Is that where you are? Or are we about to see more policy positions, more changes at the top of the ticket?
Well, I think it's to her great credit that she made this announcement on fracking. The reality is that the world has changed a lot in the last 5 years since the earlier statement that you quoted. The Ukraine war in particular has really highlighted the need of the entire world to access natural gas from the U.S. Yes. The other thing is just prices. You know, what inflation has done to people's pocketbooks in Pennsylvania and all over the country, it kind of shines a light on the fact that we need to use all of our energy resources to keep people's electric bills low, to allow them to cool their houses here in the summer, heat them in the winter. And so she's doing the right thing. She's learned in time. And I think that's the sign of a good leader, in my opinion.
No, she's doing it so that she can win the state of Pennsylvania. And if she chooses Josh Shapiro, which actually, I don't even know if she's making this decision herself, because I predict that if Kamala Harris were to win, she would not be making any decisions. Similar to Queen Elizabeth when she first became queen. For the majority of the first part, I would say the first 20, 25 years, she wasn't making decisions. The people who worked within, her, I don't want to say administration, it's not administration, but the people that worked within her vicinity, they were the ones making the decisions. You can read all about this, by the way. She was a queen, but they didn't trust her to make decisions and stuff. She was young. She was a female. There was all that jazz. Anywho, I have a feeling that Kamala Harris wouldn't be making any decisions. I have a feeling that a lot of these decisions would be made by Obama, Nancy Pelosi, higher ups in Dem leadership. I don't think they would trust her to make any positions. I definitely don't think they would trust her to make foreign policy decisions. Those would probably be made by Antony Blinken, people like Secretary Lloyd, like those people would be making those decisions. So I don't even think she's probably really making the decision about the vice president. I think someone else in Dem leadership would be making those decisions. But if she were to choose Josh Shapiro and she's also reversing the ban on fracking, then that would probably lock her in for Pennsylvania, unless Donald Trump is able to get the rural voters in Pennsylvania to come out and heavily support him the way that he did in 2016. So we got to pay attention to what's happening here.
I hear you, and I saw your post where you say it is a sign of a good leader. But, I mean, you know how America works, Congressman. They look at this stuff and they say, wait a minute, she said that. Now she's saying this. Isn't that just sort of the politics of usual that we hate on both sides?
No, because everybody out here in the normal world, blue collar voters in Pennsylvania has changed their mind about something in their life, probably oftentimes about many important things. In this instance, Vice President Harris came out on her own and got ahead of it and explained what her position actually was. It wasn't like she was caught in a flip-flop or something like that on a debate stage. She's intentionally thinking about what her policies are now that she's the presumptive nominee for an entire country. Okay. And, some of these people.
I told you she doesn't have a plan, because he just told you she's thinking about what her policies are. Like, I'm not stupid. I wasn't born yesterday. This is to help her try to win some of those swing states.
Well, you can't please. If she didn't do this, she'd show up in Pennsylvania and they'd say, oh, look how out of touch she is. She hasn't changed her policy on fracking. So she's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
just like Hillary Clinton. So do you guys see? I will say this. I think that this particular administration, the Kamala campaign that's working, I think they're probably looking at some of the mistakes that Hillary Clinton made in 2016, and they're trying not to repeat those same mistakes. Now, they would never tell you that. They would never tell you that, okay? They'll just tell you it's all Jill Stein's fault.
John Fetterman did this in the primary race that you ran, right? He changed his position, so you know this well. Speaking of knowing well, you know Pennsylvania well. President Trump was up 3.5, give or take, on Joe Biden before the president stepped out. Polling now shows that he is up 2 on the vice president, Kamala Harris. Why is he winning Pennsylvania?
And this number continues to change. I think Tuesday night, I'm going to do an update on the polls because I saw another poll that showed that she was leading in Pennsylvania. I saw another poll that showed that she was leading in all the swing states now, except for Georgia. So we'll have to do an update with all the polls again. But I do want to remind you something about this. When you see these numbers, remember, the polls are to encourage votes. The polls are supposed to encourage you to come out so that if you see that she's trailing behind Donald Trump and you don't want Trump, that would encourage you to come out and support her, right? Or if you see that it's kind of close, that would encourage you to come out and support, either one of them to help that not be an issue. But that's really what polls are supposed to do. They're really there to encourage you to come out or tell you, this is done. I'm just going to stay home. This is a small sample of people that they polled. That's how polls work. So we don't really know what is going to happen. And this is something I think the Hillary campaign didn't really pay attention to in 2016. The polls were showing that she was in the lead. But as we got closer and closer to November, it became closer and closer with the polls. And then ultimately you see that Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote, but she didn't win the Electoral College. So just something to pay attention to.
Well, he's been coming here for quite a long time since he was a candidate the first time. Also, the mood of the electorate, we all can sense it. People are dissatisfied. They remember the pre-COVID, pre-inflation days. And I think at this point are giving Trump too much credit for those days. But the reason you've seen Vice President Harris pick up numbers in the polls is a lot of people in Pennsylvania that voted for Trump don't like him, and they don't really want in their heart of hearts to vote for him again. And I really believe there's a window of time here where their mind is open, and you're seeing already in these poll numbers the idea that maybe I could vote for her, and they're going to listen to what she says on issues like natural gas and Social Security and other things that are important to Pennsylvanians. And if she seals the deal, she has a real opportunity in this state.
There is the possibility that your governor on your side of the aisle, Josh Shapiro, is tapped potentially as the vice presidential pick. Should she do it?
I think it'd be a great choice, but I would echo the same thing he has said. It's a personal choice for her, and I don't think she wants to feel backed into any one corner. I think she wants to get comfortable with who she's going to choose because how important that job is. But I would think of it like this: when you get a cell phone call from an unknown number, a lot of times you don't answer it. If you get one from a number that's in your phone, you're going to answer it to find out what's going on. And Josh Shapiro is extremely well known in this state. It's like he's in people's phones, and when they hear him saying, our administration will never come after your job on the pipeline, they're going to believe it a little bit more. And I think it could be an advantage.
So I'll get into the issues with Josh Shapiro in the Cenk Uygur story. I'll get into that because Josh Shapiro would be a big problem for Kamala Harris. It may help her win the state of Pennsylvania, but I think it's going to cause some issues, particularly with those that are pro-Palestinian and those that are anti-censorship and those that are against school vouchers. I'll get into that a little bit later. But even The Guardian reported on this as well. Kamala Harris will not ban fracking if she wins the White House, campaign says. Harris, who had previously urged the fracking ban, plans to highlight climate contrasts between Democrats and Republicans. This is, and they even pointed out here in The Guardian, they say, it's a stark contrast on the climate crisis between Joe Biden's administration and Donald Trump's. This is crazy. Harris had previously, as a candidate for 2020 presidential nomination, vowed to ban fracking as well as back a Green New Deal, a progressive resolution to shift the U.S. to 100% renewable energy, and new government dietary guidelines to encourage people to reduce their meat eating. So there's that. And it's just the flip-flopping and the flippity-flop. We've seen this before. She did this with Medicare for All. I want to remind you of the flippity-flop on this. Let's go down memory lane, folks.
You don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Exactly.
We were together,
yes.
And you'll remember and roll the tape, please.
Yeah, we can roll the tape. Well, you support the Bernie Sanders bill, which essentially gets rid of insurance.
I support Medicare for All, but I really do need to clear up what happened on that stage.
Okay.
It was in the context of saying, let's get rid of all the bureaucracy. Let's get all of the ways.
Oh, not the insurance companies.
No, that's not what I meant. I know it was interpreted that way. If you watch the tape, I think you'll see that there are obviously many interpretations of what I said.
Let's not be duped by a messaging campaign that has been waged for years by the insurance companies to have you into believing that you need to defend them. You need to defend yourself. You know what? 91% of the doctors are in Medicare. So the idea and the suggestion they're trying to make to you is really a false one. You will be able to have your doctor. 91% of them are in the Medicare system.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Yes. All right.
And see, Kamala raised her hand there. Everybody remember that? Mm-hmm.
So you saw the hand up by Kamala Harris, but then she sort of clarified that response this morning on Morning Joe.
Do you believe that private insurance should be eliminated in this country?
No.
You don't?
I do
But you
not.
raised your hand last night.
But the question was, would you give up your private insurance for that option? And I said yes.
Oh, I think you heard it differently than others then.
Probably.
The role of private insurance, are you limiting that to something like cosmetic insurance? Or what is the exact role of private insurance?
To cover what is not otherwise covered.
So that includes what?
Very little, because almost everything will be covered.
So then how does this plan differ from what Senator Sanders is proposing?
I think that they're very similar. I don't know if they're, I mean, I don't think that, I'm supporting his bill. So to the extent that he's talking about his bill, I don't know what else he's talking about.
Now, that video is from Justice Democrats, just as a reminder. I mean, I don't know to tell you guys, but you see how she's flippity-flip-flopped, right? That's right, Kip. Kamala the chameleon. Come, chameleon. You come and go. You come and go. You're bringing back an oldie but goodie, Kip, doctor. You're bringing back an oldie but goodie. But it's real out here in these streets. And even if you were to look at our website right now, you'll see we're going to pull it up because we've been checking this every day. Roger has me checking this. I've been checking this every day. Okay, every day. And we'll pull it up here now. As you can see, this is what we got. So look, donate, store, take action, meet Kamala Harris. So it's just like, so now she has this thing, meet Kamala Harris as vice president. These are all the things that she did and what the Biden Harris administration achieved. But Kamala Harris still does not have a platform. This is just a history of what she did as California Attorney General. Like, where is the policy, hon? Where is the policy, boo-boo? Where's the policy? Karma, chameleon. That's it. There's no platform. And I saw a number of people just jump on board and say, yay, Kamala. Like, what are you voting for? I'm voting for her because she's a woman. I'm voting for her because I want the first black woman, first Jamaican, Indian woman, da-da-da. People just running on vibes, boo. People just on vibes. And I thought more people would have learned from Barack Obama. And here we are.